Back to the Soul Collective podcast. I am so excited to be connecting with Ashton August today. Ashton is the founder and content director of Yoga Approved. Yoga Approved has over 10 million video views. She is also a published author and speaker and incredible entrepreneur who is bridging this gap between business and spirituality. And so I'm so excited to really explore this intersection in a really fun and exciting way. Ashton, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Emily. Thank you so much for having me. I have been such a fan of your podcast and you, and I always love our conversations. So thank you to everyone who's joining us. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, there's so much to explore. I was just thinking about it like in sort of preparation for this conversation of all the areas, because you're really traversing so many different worlds of, writing and yoga and travel and so many things that I want to get in and explore with you. But I want to ask just some basic questions about your morning routine. What is it like for you when you wake up in the morning?
Ooh, yeah, I love all these talking points. How fun. My morning routine is a big one for me. It is key to balancing all that I do throughout the day and in my life. I learned this routine when I was writing my second book, which Emily wrote a beautiful endorsement for. So, a year of self motivation for women. It was so fun to write. And Emily, thank you for your support throughout that journey. But
Absolutely.
that process of writing that book really taught me that a morning routine is so important and integral to setting our entire day up for success. So I really indulge in that routine. And I get that some of this comes with a bit of privilege and the ability to have the time to do it. But I will get up at a reasonable amount of time. I tend to get up around 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And the first thing I do to set my day up for success is I meditate. I just sit down and I drop into a meditation, whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes. And I just breathe with myself and get really centered and set an intention for the day. And then I go through my little ritual of making my morning coffee or latte, and I'll do a little guided reading, either like a little guided journaling exercise or just something from a motivational book. So I'm starting my mind off on a really empowered note. And I'll typically try to do this outside. Now, again, I live in Arizona, so I have that ability to enjoy the outdoors. And I take this time for myself to really set my mind up. And then whether I take the dogs on a hike or I move my body and I get on my yoga mat, I always want to start my day with some level of activity as well. And doing these things really sets the tone for whatever comes my way, whether the day goes smoothly or I'm interrupted with, 5 fires to be putting out throughout the day, which is typical. I have this mindset of, okay, I'm calm, I'm grounded, I'm in control. I might not be in control of what happens, but I'm in control of how I respond. Mm-hmm. And I'm not perfect. No one is. I don't do this every day. I do this the vast majority of days. And the days that I don't do it, I can notice the difference. And so it's just become so important to me, even like the more full my day and my schedule gets, it's just more and more reason to stay on that morning routine, because I can't say enough how much it has truly transformed my work day from one of getting up and already feeling like I'm behind and go, 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 rush, rush, rush to get everything done. And it's so stressful to now it's, I'm going to accomplish what I can. I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And then everything else will be there waiting for me tomorrow. And let me tell you what, Emily, that is a way more calm, peaceful, and therefore empowered mindset that I have learned through years of not doing it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Same, same. I really find it's funny because, I remember hearing suggestions to focus on three things to get done in a single day. And that has like really simplified the way that I approach the day, in addition to, to your sharing of really having a morning routine that I absolutely love, that brings me into my center and connects me with, my gratitude and my body and all of these things. So I love hearing about what your morning looks like. So
Yes,
fun.
thank you. Thank you for asking. And then to comment quickly on what you just shared, I love the 3 things to get done in a day because that's realistic. And I think oftentimes we set ourselves up for unrealistic goals like, all right, I'm going to accomplish these 10 huge tasks today. And now you're disappointed when you don't and you're beating yourself up about it. And it wasn't realistic to begin with. So I always like to say, eat the frog, and that's part of my morning routine too, which is getting your biggest, most daunting task out of the way first. And that way, and that's eating the frog. So don't worry, we're not eating any actual frogs for this exercise, but it's such a good feeling to, in the start of your day, check something big off the list. You already feel like you've succeeded and everything else is just gonna come that much easier for you. So thank you for adding that.
Yeah, I 1000% agree because I feel like, your energy is so focused when you're focusing on one thing or just a couple of things rather than I have this, gigantic to-do list.
Yeah.
And I know for you, you've got, this amazing company that you've built. And I just would love to hear more about your journey. I know that you love to write and you love yoga, but to be able to really blossom and bridge the gap and bring those into physical form, into a business that, supports people in their practices around the world, is just incredible. And I'd love to know more about how you started it and how you kind of, brought it into physical form.
Mm. Well, thank you for your kind words about Yogi Approved. It's been such a gift and an amazing journey to build this brand and platform and community over the last 7 years. Many people will come to yoga first for the physical, and then over time, it's like the gateway drug, right? And then over time, they find the spiritual aspect and they grow into that. And for me, it kind of happened in the reverse order, where in my teens, I was very deeply spiritual and I was very immersed in, getting my hands on all the books I could for personal development, spirituality, and all of these things. So that's actually what led me into my yoga, which was really, really amazing to find the physical, aspect to my spiritual journey. And
So what were
so,
you studying when you were younger? I'm just curious.
oh yeah, this is so fun. I really started more like philosophical, like existentialism, Friedrich Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre, and then that got me into like Eckhart Tolle, a new Earth. Oh my gosh, that book forever changed my life. As did Siddhartha, Hermann Hesse. Oh, those 2 books were like my baby entry into spirituality, and both of them I finished and then opened to page 1 and just immediately read it again. Like I was just so mind blown. And so that led me into Dr. Wayne Dyer, Alanya Van Zandt, all these incredible sort of personal development writers and authors that back then I had the amazing privilege of meeting in person when they were all presenting at these conferences. So it was that started my journey, and so fun. And I know that you're so big on that side of spirituality and self-awareness and self-growth. So thank you for asking that piece of the question. But all of that to say, that was my background. And then I got my master's in creative nonfiction writing. And shortly thereafter, unexpected turn in my life, jumped into yoga teacher training. And I emerged teaching all these classes each week, being an English professor, and loving both, but feeling like, okay, I know I'm a teacher. I know I have a passion for yoga, writing, and being of service to the community. How can I bring this all together? And that was when the concept for Yogi Approved was born. And it began as an online yoga and wellness magazine, as a resource for all things living a healthy lifestyle. And then it evolved into adding Yogi Approved classes, our online yoga and fitness membership platform, several years later. And now we have, as you said, not only teachers and writers, but authors and students from around the world. And it's so incredible. And it's such an amazing global community. I love it so much. And every class that a member completes helps to plant a food producing tree for farming communities in West Africa. And so far, we have planted almost 300,000 trees.
Wow.
Woo!
Wow, that is incredible and so beautiful. And, I feel like, one of the questions that I have as I'm listening to your story, it's like, wow, such a beautiful bridging of these gifts and your, interests and spirituality and yoga and writing. And yet, there's so many different content platforms out there. And, to be able to like, oh, I'm going to actually, I feel like there's people that are like, oh, I want to start a blog or I want to start something. Like I have that, desire to create something. But then to actually kind of build it into this, beautiful foundation with so many different offerings and components and sort of infrastructure that's supportive is really a gift to be able. So I'm curious, like, what was the hardest part of that journey and how did it begin to kind of take shape?
Yeah. Whew, it's such an important question to ask because I know it feels really daunting when people are starting off and you want to build something great and you see so many other people who have done it, which is motivating, but also daunting. There's all these other, whatever it is out there. And so for me, the challenge was at first to get past my own personal doubts. I think that my mindset is everything. If you go to my website, that's what's plastered across the top of it. Mindset is everything. And self-doubt and questioning your abilities is so challenging. It's one of the most challenging things that I've overcome, not just as an entrepreneur, but also as just a human being, right? So that was a big one to start. And then once I got my footing and I was feeling really good about it and things were moving along, my next biggest challenge was not having the support from my people, from my friends and family, because then it was still really new. Everyone was asking me, are you out of your mind? When are you going to go back to being an English professor? You went to school. What are, like every question that you could be asked, none of which felt supportive or like they were having faith in me. And that's not to trash my people. I love them. They are all incredibly supportive and their intentions were pure, right? Their intentions were, we want to see you secure and safe and comfortable in life. Well, you know what? If you're comfortable, you're not growing. And it's when we take these risks and we believe in ourselves, even when it seems like no one else does, and we move forward anyway. Because then what happens is we show these people who are like, ooh, it's safer on shore, swim back, swim back. We show these people that it can be done. We give others permission to dream and to strive and to, go their own way and start their own journey too. And I'll tell you what, my friends and my family fully support me now, fully. And they're all inspired by my journey now. And so it was a huge challenge to not feel like I was being understood, supported, seen, valued, all of those things. But it ended up being one of the biggest rewards to say, you know what? No, I'm going to do this for me anyway. And I'm going to do this for the community anyway. And I believe in that.
What was the turning point for you when you're like, wow, this is like really, I've created my vision?
Mm. There's been small turning points along the way. I think like the turning points were when I started to get messages from people that I had never met before that were out of the country that were reaching out to say, I have been so incredibly impacted by Yogi Approved, by your platform. One of the so along the way, receiving those messages makes it all worthwhile. If I get one message like that, I'm like, you know what? Woo! It was worth it.
Yeah.
But a big turning point for me, because with any business, with most any business, the first 3, 5, 7, 10 years are challenging. It's so much work. You're constantly, trying so hard to just succeed. Will you succeed? Everything's unknown. And so, I was still going through all of that. COVID hits, and then the messages are pouring in. I've been in isolation for months and I practice with you every day, and it's the only thing getting me by. Yogi Approved has been my saving grace during the pandemic when I'm so scared and lonely and isolated and all these things. That was the turning point for me, Emily, like the full turning point where I was like, wow, I've been working so hard. At times I wasn't sure if, I was going to succeed or whatever was going to happen. And then to receive all of these messages showing me the impact of all the work that had been done. Wow.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I remember when I started as, started my entrepreneurial journey, and, there was this deep that desire within me. I wanted to do something spiritual, do something with spirituality, and yet I had this business that was kind of really more still carrying that corporate energy. And so part of my journey was really finding a way to bridge like the business and the spirituality. And I feel like, for so many people listening, they might have, a business that they've started or have something on their heart that they're wishing to bring forward. What recommendations would you have to really, create something that is really closely connected to your heart?
Beautiful question. I think that what's so important when we walk this line of we are spiritual beings and we're also, living on earth and having a business and needing to make money, to remain really grounded and rooted in our authenticity. And that, everyone says that all the time. Remain authentic, be authentic, find your authentic self. But what does that mean and how do we get there, right? So I hear that a lot, but the way in which we do that, in my opinion, is by establishing our why, right? What is our why for being here? I am a yoga teacher consultant in addition to everything else I do. And I just was teaching a business of yoga seminar this week, and it was on the topic of bridging that spirituality. You're a teacher, you are facilitating this very sacred and important practice. And also you have to make money and you have to live and survive in order to be continuing to do this. It's getting really clear on your why. What is your purpose for this company that you want to create, for this offering that you want to create? And that becomes your mission statement. Like any company, any business we do a mission statement, right? But the mission statement is through the lens of your credo. So I love every year on my birthday, I will sit down and I will look at my credo from last year, and then I will write my credo for the year ahead. And sometimes they're very similar and sometimes they're completely different because we're ever evolving and changing and growing and all of these things. But for anyone listening who's like, that word sounds familiar, but what exactly is it? A credo is, whether you write it as a list of words or in full paragraph form, it is your guiding foundational beliefs and values. And so these act as your internal compass for making decisions and making them from that place of authenticity. Are they in alignment with your foundational beliefs and values? For me, I operate from a place of integrity. In all that I do, integrity is my word, is my mantra, is my credo. And so I will not accept any opportunities that are out of integrity for me, that are not in alignment with my values, my beliefs, my goals. And so for me, that has really become my guiding force, or like I said, my internal compass of navigating these, tricky waters of, we want to be successful in business and we are spiritual beings and we want to maintain the integral alignment of that spirituality in our business.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I really truly find that even one word, one mantra can bring us back always to center. I love that. Similar to you, I have just a couple words that will come through, usually at the beginning of the year, and they sort of like set the tone for the year. They like bring me back to some of the areas that I want to be focused on, like what I'm studying, areas of growth. And so I love that, like whether it's a credo or whether it's something that you connect with personally to kind of like, guide your value system. I think that can be so helpful. And, as I'm listening, okay.
I want to know your word.
Oh my gosh. So I have 3 this year. So transparency, intimacy, and consistency. Actually, and courage. 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they're good. They're great words.
Strong words, powerful words. Thank you for sharing, because those are beautiful and they become your guideposts throughout the year, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, as you're sharing, one thing that really comes up for me is confidence. You have this like inner confidence that exudes. And, I know just through your sharing that it's something that you've cultivated. You really worked on your mindset. And, with the role that you are holding in your company and in the world, it's like, being visible, being on videos, teaching, holding space for others. And that really takes a lot of confidence. And so I'd love to hear like a little bit more about your journey, and perhaps if you have any advice on for somebody that's really looking to cultivate their confidence.
You are a keen observer. This is why you're such an incredible podcast host. Yes, confidence is key, and confidence is not something that you are either born with or not. It is absolutely something that you can cultivate. How do I know? Because I did not always have it, as you picked up on. And I was shy when I was younger, and I had to work on that a lot. And I was also, I got beaten down a lot in life in a lot of ways that made me not easily able to access my confidence. And I share that because I know I'm not alone. I know that that's true for many of us. And so the confidence journey for me began by intentionally putting myself out there. In fact, this is so funny because I was just on a podcast recently and this came up too. And I've never talked about this before outside of these two times, but my first job when I turned 16 was at a 50s diner. And so I was, from a shy kid, I started as a busser and I worked my way up, but eventually I became a hostess, poodle skirt and all, no jokes. And I mean, talk about being brought out of your shell, right? I'm like, what's shaking bacon? What's cooking good looking as people are coming through the door? So putting myself out there was the best thing I could ever do. It really helped break me out of my shy shell. And then when I was in college, I purposely signed up for public speaking classes, even though my heart would just race just knowing I had class that day, because I was so nervous to get up in front of people. But thank goodness I did that and I made myself do it. And then finally, when I started Yogi Approved and I was always on, in the public eye and making YouTube videos and all of that, I'll tell you what, Emily, that was not intentional, but I got a really thick skin by having YouTube videos because wow, wow, the comments that you can get on there. Woo, woo. But it's good because it taught me to have a thick skin, that hurt people, and that I'm not going to dim my light and to make myself small just to make others feel better, because ultimately that's doing everyone a disservice. So again, this was an ongoing process. It took time. It took my willingness to put myself out there, which came from a place of self-love and being like, I love you enough to do the work so that we can improve this area of ourselves. Ashton, I'm speaking to myself now, so that we can come out better for it and better be able to show up and serve others. And so that's where it came from. And I hope that helps answer the question.
I love that so much. Such powerful and profound lessons that you've shared. And one thing that really stands out that I would love listeners to take away with is just the fact that, you really cultivated that gift of speaking and putting yourself out there. It wasn't something you were born with, and that it's something that you had to kind of work through, maybe that fear or that resistance around. And I think that can sometimes be sort of like a misconception, is that everybody that's out there that's doing their thing, whether it's, being on YouTube videos or performing or whatever it is, that they have this innate ability to, speak or share or shine their light. And that's just not true. I feel like sometimes if you have even a fear or resistance around visibility, that it is for you. It's something that your soul wants to experience and desires, and it's working through that fear, working through that resistance, that is the journey in and of itself.
Beautifully said. Absolutely. And when it comes to things like that, the only way out is through. We have fears, we address them, and then when we see our fears and walk past them, and walk through them, that's when we can really fully fill into ourselves and our full potential. So it's scary and it's worth it, and we've all seen those memes around. If it scares you, do it, and it's like, well, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Good thing I did the thing that scared me, and that you did the things that scared you. And you bring up performers, and I was reflecting on, I have a handful of really good friends that are, big performers and really well known, and they get out there in front of huge crowds. And then I know them on a one-to-one basis. They're very quiet. They like their alone time. If I have them at a yoga event and I call them out, they're almost like, so it's so true.
I love that. What are some things about you that maybe people that would be surprised about?
Let's see. I don't know why I went to this one first. I think it's like what's something that no one else knows about you? I have a head tattoo.
Oh, awesome. What is it of?
It's of the Fibonacci sequence, the golden mean. I at one point had the whole side of my head
Oh my
shaved.
gosh. I saw that, by the way. I would just saw that on
Yeah.
your, so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. I know I would love to bring it back, but the shaving your head process is great until you want to grow it out.
Yeah. I can imagine. Oh my gosh. Well, I wanted to ask you, I mean, I know that you co-founded Yogi Approved, correct? With your partner. And
Yes.
just curious, like how that has been navigating, like being in a relationship and also, being business partners.
Oh, yes. So my now husband and I, he was my boyfriend at the time. When Yogi Approved was just a concept, we were planning it in my tiny little apartment bathroom. Why we were sitting on the bathroom floor, I don't know, but I had a notebook out and we were brainstorming all the things, and I'll never forget it.
I
And
love that.
I know, so cute. But actually that's a really good point that I would love to touch on quickly, which is the power of writing down your visions. So visualizing, and not just visualizing, I want to have this podcast, and I want to, set it up and have it be this big thing. Visualizing the end goal. Who's the biggest name you want to have on that podcast? How many views are you going to get on that podcast? And then writing it down. I am amazed. I'm a writer, as you know, and we've talked about, and I filled notebook after notebook after notebook. And so I have this bookshelf of all my notebooks. And sometimes I'll just open it up to a random page and be like, oh my goodness, I totally manifested that years ago. And I forgot even that it was something I had set the intention to do at that time. So point being, the power, and not just writing it down, but taking it one step further by scripting it, meaning writing it down like it's already happened and now you're celebrating.
Can
Woo!
you share a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, I know we're detouring, but it's an important one. So manifestation is the act of like attracting like, and the energy we're putting out is the energy that we're seeking to get back. And so when we visualize what it is that we're seeking to attract, that's really powerful. When we then take that vision and put it on paper, we're bringing that out of our minds, out of our bodies, we're embodying that. There's energy there too. Taking it the furthest step, scripting. This is a technique that one of my really good friends, Yumi, showed me, and she is a manifestation magnet. So clearly it works. Is to then say, okay, let's say that you're working on building confidence. You would write down, I would write down, wow, Ashton, I am so incredibly proud of all the confidence that you have gained and demonstrated this past month. The way that you have grown and showed up for yourself, and the way in which you exude confidence everywhere you go, and in so doing inspire other people to have that same level of confidence, is truly powerful. And I am so grateful to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo!
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, because here, yeah. And that just came out like so profound. Yes. I love that technique, and I'm definitely going to try that, because it really is even, deepening that visualization and, gratitude, and bringing it into actual, written form as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a powerful practice. So thank you for letting me share that. I would love to hear from you after you've tried it, how it went for yourself. And same for everyone listening. How about there's a challenge for all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Get out there and script what it is that you're seeking to bring into reality, and then reach out to us and tell us how it went.
Yes. please. I think this will be so fun because it really is that like potent collective energy of co-creating together. So
Mm.
yes. Any other practices that are kind of a part of your, daily routine, or a part of really like calling things into physical form? Anything that you really um, have noticed that has really taken your business to the next level, whether it's like an energy practice or gratitude or anything like that?
Yes, you touched on it. Gratitude is huge. I infuse everything that I do with gratitude because it's the gateway to all abundance, Eckhart Tolle. And so for a while there, as I was mentioning, when you start a company, it's scary, it's stressful, you don't know what's going to happen, all these things, not to make it so fear-based sounding, but just to be real, just to be realistic of what I was going through in the early days. And so it's easy to get in a lack-based mindset. It's really easy. And this goes for anyone, if you have an unexpected bill come up, anything that happens, right? It's easy to go into the lack-based mindset. My mom is trying to retire right now. Love you, Mom. Sorry, you're getting used as an example. And so she has like a year or two left to work, and I'm so excited for her. But she has really taken on this lack-based mindset, unfortunately, because she's trying to save money, which I get. But now it's down to, I can't afford to go out to lunch because she's so holding on tightly to everything. And hey, I get that. But how about I'm going to, I'm going to reward myself for all the money that I'm saving by treating myself once a week, or once a month to lunch, just to have this abundance mindset. So she's not so wrapped up in, I don't have a single dollar to spare. Right. So hopefully that was a decent example to convey. But the point is, gratitude shifts us from a lack mindset to an abundant mindset. So what my mom is doing is, oh my gosh, I just need to save every dime, as opposed to being so grateful to her own ability to have saved so much already and to keep an abundant mindset of, I'm saving so much money, I am in abundance, right? And so for me, it became flipping the script from lack, how are we going to make enough money, blah, 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 to the money is coming my way. Everything is fine. I am showing up authentically. I am so incredibly grateful for the opportunity to do so and for the ability to be of service and to share my gifts. I am so grateful for that. That in and of itself is why I'm here. I trust that the money and the success will follow. I just need to remain rooted in my gratitude. And that might sound, a little hippy dippy, but the point is, you do the work too. So you're not just, I'm grateful and it's going to speed my way. But when you're showing up, you're doing the work and you're remaining rooted in gratitude. It also shifts our mindset from, oh, I have to get up and do another full day of work, to I get to.
Mm-hmm.
It's another day. I am alive. I am so grateful for my body, for my mind, for my ability to get up and give my very best. I get to. So gratitude is a mindset hack.
It truly is. It truly is. And, as you're sharing, it's like what's coming up is like this huge piece around surrender and trust. And as I hear you sharing about like really just the ability to be in service and to be grateful for the opportunity, there is this huge piece, I feel like, where we say like, hey, universe, I'm stepping into this that feels really like my authentic path and what I'm here to do and how I'm here to serve. And I'm going to trust that you're going to, support me. And there is just that universal support that happens as we trust, as we surrender, as we're grateful for all the experiences that we're calling in.
It's so true. Yes, that trust and surrender and support, because the lack of trust, the inverse of that, like, no one's on my side, no one's in my corner, I don't have any support. That's a lack-based mindset too. And it's going to slow you down because it's scary. It's very isolating to feel that. And I get it. Your feelings are valid. If you're there, I've been there. I can still get to those places. But the point is to remain rooted in that empowered mindset. It goes so far.
Yes. Yes. One of the things that was really, really helpful for me through that journey was to actually write a list of all the things, all the different ways that I was receiving, and just to really tune in. It's like, a receiving list. And it's like, oh, that receiving this nice breeze, receiving the sunshine. And like, we can really like dial into all that we're receiving and, begin to open ourselves up to receive even more.
I love that. That's like a gratitude list on steroids, because I have like a gratitude journal and it's fun. You just list 5 things you're grateful for, but to narrow it down to receiving, but then to open up the receiving to not just physical abundance, but a beautiful breeze. My goodness, the little things, it matters, because what happens is we get so caught up in the day to day, the go, 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 the rush, 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 this very masculine societal pressure of how much are you getting done, right? Yeah. Are you burned out yet? Because if you're not, that means you're not doing enough. Woo, that's unhealthy. But the point is, we get so bogged down by all this chatter all the time, it becomes really, really easy to not notice or at least appreciate the breeze, the sun.
Yes. And that's such a great segue, because I would love to ask, I know that we're talking, and this maybe will lead in. I know we were talking about you and your partner, like kind of, starting this co-creation, and also too, you brought in, the masculine energy, like an imbalance that sometimes we may feel, and to be able to really find this divine balance. And I know that you really do such a great job of that. I mean, you spend part of the year traveling around in a van and, really are able to explore and have beautiful adventures. And so I'd love to hear more about that, like journey of really bringing in balance and such, multidimensional experiences into your everyday life.
Yes. Yeah, the balance is across the board in that sense. And not that I've established balance. I think balance is kind of ethereal. Like it's something that comes and goes. But in terms of my husband and I, we have established an incredible work-life balance. And as you brought up, we created the concept of Yogi Approved together. And at that time, he had a corporate job that was not making his soul sing. So he, as the marketing director of that job, and also as a web developer guy, it was a perfect opportunity for him to kind of jump ship, if you will, from corporate America, as you know all about that, and do something that did make his soul sing and light up. And so that partnership has been lovely. We have been, together for almost 12 years and friends for longer, my goodness. And so I'm very blessed. And I know it's not the typical partnership in that I'm basically married to my best friend, who also is my business partner. And it's a really, really beautiful dynamic. We live together, we work together, it's a lot. But we maintain the balance, and we learned the hard way when we first moved to Denver, and we had this big open air loft that we lived and worked in. That was really, really challenging because there was no separation of church and state. So everything happened in that same space, and it became really overwhelming because you need that separation from your partner, from your work. You just need that quality alone time, And so I learned my lesson there. And I learned now to, the balance for me is just by keeping it separate. I've established hard boundaries, which also come with the ability now in my business to do so, of I'm not going to work after a set time of day. I'm going to take the weekends off when I can, it's like little things like that. I have to take one full day a week off of work in order to maintain that balance of feeling like I'm taking time for me to fill myself up, maintaining my personal practice, all of these things. So you mentioned travel. Travel is a challenge because being on the road is beautiful. It's adventure, it's spontaneity, and it's also full surrender, girlfriend, because that is the time where your routine goes out the window. You have all these intentions of the meetings that you're going to have, the emails you're going to send, and then you just have no Wi-Fi, no cell service,
Yes.
So that has been a really fun challenge and so exciting because we get to, travel around and film with teachers and go different places and see beautiful places and explore. And I love it. And that also is the most important, challenging opportunity to maintain some semblance of a routine. It's going to look different to maintain, the work-life balance while being on the road. So I could go on and on, but anyway.
Oh my gosh, so much. I love hearing just kind of a glimpse of that because I love to travel and I feel like many, because I know that, this has kind of been something that, through the past couple of years, I feel like so many people are being drawn to more of a nomadic, more of, a van life style where you're able to travel around and experience different places. And there's definitely a strong call within me to do that as well. And I know also with myself, it's like when I'm traveling, sometimes I have a hard time with like the routines and like the, keeping up with all the emails and things like that. So that is such a balancing act and great challenge to be able to, experience the world and explore, and then also, have that routine also of supporting your business and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And it can be quite the challenge. So, it's just one of those things. And you're right. Van life recently has gotten so popular, and we were van lifing before COVID. So it was interesting to see that big shift towards more nomadic lifestyle. Like you said, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
What advice would you have for somebody who's maybe thinking about exploring that?
Yeah, exploring van life. It's super fun. It's one of those things where you need to just be okay to release your plans and to go with the flow and to be as prepared as you can be, and also be prepared to completely change course, whether that's your plans, your schedule, whatever it may be. Van life is a really fun adventure to get out there and explore and meet people and connect, and experience different parts of wherever it is you are. So I always encourage it. I think travel is so important, not just as a beautiful form of self-care and sort of a reset button, but also for perspective, to get out there and immerse yourself in different experiences outside of your comfort zone with different cultures. It's just so important to our worldview. So
Truly, yes, it
I
is.
love it.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead, babe.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, this is kind of on a separate topic, but it's related, which is really about, balancing time in front of a computer, which is something that I know for me, like I struggle with. That's probably my biggest thing that is an maybe unhealthy habit, because I really believe that we're not meant to sit for extended periods of time. And so getting up, being able to move, I'm sure, and in the travel, and then also being a yoga teacher, you're constantly moving your body. But what do you find, like maybe if you have gone for days without like getting connected with your yoga practice, is that something that you've ever noticed in yourself? And then how do you really do you integrate physical movement on a daily basis? Is that like a non-negotiable for you?
Uh, yes, and I don't do it every day. It's a non-negotiable to do it regularly. And I've given myself the grace, kind of getting back to what we were talking about earlier, setting realistic expectations, that if I can do it 4 to 5 times a week, perfect, amazing. So I do notice it. In fact, I can notice it today. I had a very early morning appointment across town before our call. And so I did not have the time, or let me be more honest, I did not get up early enough to still get my practice in before driving across town. And I can feel it now. I'm loving our conversation, and I can tell, okay, Ashton, get to the point, be a little more concise, because when I do get on my mat and start my day that way, I have such a deeper level of clarity, of focus, of being grounded, like we talked about earlier for our morning routine. So yes, I think that when you're sitting in front of a computer all day, it is incredibly draining. to our energy. And by energy, our energetic body, our physical body, our mental cognitive functioning, you know, all of it. It can be a lot. My eyes hurt. I will feel myself really feeling kind of lethargic as the day winds down from staring at the screen. So I try to get out in the middle of the day, take the dogs to the park, let them run around for 20 minutes. We all need to get out, you know. I try to be very mindful to sometimes stand when I'm working, to take breaks often. I have been indulging lately, now that the weather's really nice in my neck of the woods, going outside midday, taking a midday break and sitting in the sun for 10 minutes. So just little tiny sneaky ways to mix up your day so that you are feeling, you know, nourished and productive, but also well, because I wasn't well for years, just in front of a computer, hunched over. You would never know I was a yoga teacher. I look more like a turtle. And it doesn't feel good, babe. And you know it. And we all know it. And then oftentimes we feel like we have no other option. So even if it's just stand up, 30 seconds, shake everything out, take 5 deep breaths, do a standing forward fold, get back to it. You know, I just made a video the other day of a couple of my favorite yoga poses that I love to do while I'm sitting in my chair at my desk.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, it's so easy. I know we can't see full body, so I won't drag everyone through it, but a couple quick things you could do is that you can see arms up overhead, grab opposite elbows, and just a gentle side bend. Oh yeah, right? Just a tiny little side bend, get that spine moving in a different direction.
Yeah.
Lift your heart, gentle back bend. Oh, so nice. Look, I got Emily doing yoga with me. Woo!
So fun. Yeah.
Just like a couple things, like some neck rolls. And then I wish I could show you more with, you know, but next time we could do a little yoga sequence. But to just take a couple moments like that, to do a couple feel good movements for your body will thank you. Your mind will feel refreshed from it, you know.
It's amazing and so true. I mean, even in those couple seconds, I noticed a difference. My body was like, thank you. That feels
Yeah.
really good, you
Your
know?
body's like,
And
oh yeah, you remember me. I'm here too.
yes, yeah. And honestly, that really truly is one of the biggest shifts that I've noticed in my business is the more that I've tended to other areas and brought those into balance, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, just giving myself really the grace and the self-love to bring those pieces in and give myself a break from more, you know, and in all of those ways, it creates such a different energy that you're meeting your business in.
It's so true. It's so true. And I see that reflected in your business, you know, and it's an important point to make that we don't always think about, which, like I mentioned about manifestation, everything is energy. And so as a yoga teacher, I know that my energy is introducing me when I walk into that yoga room. And I know that if I'm having a hectic day, it is my duty to ground down, reset, breathe, and then go in. So I'm not bringing that and putting that on my students, you know, and the same applies to our entire business. The way in which we do anything is the way that we do everything. And it reflects in all areas of our life. And oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I was chatting to this incredible friend of mine who's also a medium, and she was giving me a reading on my company. This was a couple years ago. And she said, Yogi, you birthed Yogi Approved. This is your child. Your child has chakras. Yogi Approved has chakras? Mind blown. I was immediately like, oh, my poor baby, I have been neglecting some of Yogi Approved chakras. Like I knew right away. It was so funny. As soon as she said, I was like, root chakra, I got to get some root chakra love to my Yogi Approved child.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. You know, I just for the first time recently looked up the birth chart of Soul Media. And, you know, I have spent so much time getting to know my own, you know, natal chart and just looking at Soul Media for the first time recently. I was like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. And it's beautiful.
So that is so cool. Okay, now I'm curious. What is the sun, moon, and rising sign of Soul Media? Do you know?
So one thing that's really interesting is Mars and Venus are conjunct in the 10th house, which is so interesting. I would have to go back and pull up the
And,
chart.
and remind me, because I love the houses, but this is what I'm still new on. Is the 10th house the house of finance, or is it
It's career. So it's
career?
career visibility. Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. I have a lot of planets in the 11th house, which I don't in my natal chart. But there is like this strong, desire to create community. And so that seemed like it was really reflected in the energy of, the chart. So it's just fascinating. And when you were talking about the chakras of your business, it's like, oh my goodness, yes, like there's so much there to explore.
Yes, it's so fascinating. And it lends, all it is it's lending insight into, like you said, you understand about soul media and how Mars and Venus are conjunct and what that means. It's just interesting to look at through the lens of it can be applied to our business too. And it just gives that awareness to our brands, and our businesses are a reflection of us.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And what an amazing opportunity. Again, gratitude. Like, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have a company, that I've
Yes.
created can be a reflection of my intentions, and you with yours. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So since we're on the topic of astrology, can you share with
yeah.
listeners what your sun, moon, and rising are?
Yeah, that's fun. I am a Leo sun, a Gemini moon, and a Scorpio rising.
Ooh, fun. I love that combination. That is so fun.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's dreamy. And when I started to kind of dive into what that all meant, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When you asked me earlier, what's something that people don't know about you other than the head tattoo, I was going to say I'm very fiery. I'm very passionate, so it comes across, of course, in my upbeat, outgoing personality. But on the flip side, too, like I'm very protective of my people and loyal and all that. And that's Scorpio. That's the
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio rising right there.
Yep. Yeah. So,
What
speaking
about
of
you?
fire, one thing that I'm really interested in is, studying kind of and learning more about Kundalini energy,
Mm.
um, and really that rising of energy that happens from our root chakra up to the crown. Is that something that people can really activate through yoga or through different practices?
100%. I am not yet a Kundalini teacher. I love the Kundalini yoga practice. Um, and that Kundalini energy is absolutely something that can be awakened, activated, and celebrated through yoga. And of course, Kundalini yoga is a great, practice for that. It's all around that energy. And I've dived into some Kundalini practices recently and kriyas, and it's so potent. Wow, it is so potent. I know you must practice Kundalini by the way that you're agreeing.
Yes, yeah. I just find such a draw to the
Yeah.
practices, to the way that, you feel the movement through your central channel. The chanting, it just all really is like, to your point, it's so activating.
Yes, and particularly some of the movements, the side to side, the spiraling motions, and then in conjunction with the chanting, incredibly potent. I find myself doing spirals all the time when I'm driving,
Yep.
when I'm working. It's also really great for just like your low back, for like hydrating your spine, to do these spirals, and it's strengthening. I'm spiraling for those of you not watching me.
Yeah.
But yes, this all awakens the Kundalini energy, as can certain forms of breath work, pranayama.
Hmm.
So breathing techniques, I love to work with, because energy in general can be so activated, channeled, and directed through breathing techniques, which in yoga we call pranayama. And so which is a harnessing of breath, of conscious breathing. So it's a really cool practice, which also I was going to jump into when we were speaking about when we're working long hours at the desk and how to combat, general fatigue or stress and all of that. Breathing techniques, my goodness. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just a simple breathe in for a count of 5, breathe out for a count of 5, in and out through your nose, a couple rounds of that. That's a really nice little reset in your
Hmm.
day.
Yes. Breathwork absolutely changed my life. It's,
Mhm.
such a profound practice that we have access to literally every, second of the day. And to be able to consciously breathe is such a gift. Yeah. Oh my
100%.
gosh.
And yeah, just to wrap all of that up, I think what's beautiful about so much of what we talked about today is that it embodies the fact that wellness is not a privilege. It is not reserved for a select few. It does not have to be expensive or even take a lot of time. It is something that is accessible to all of us, and it can come in many forms. But taking time in the morning to breathe deeply and meditate and center on your intention, taking time throughout the day to breathe, to move your body a little bit. These are small things that add up to big shifts for the better in ourselves. So thank you, Emily, for giving me the opportunity to discuss all of this with you. It was really lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah. One last question for you.
Yeah.
I want to know how you stay motivated.
Mm. Yes, motivation is a deep, deep well. I stay motivated through a series of things, but a big piece of it for me is affirmations. I love working with an affirmation and repeating it throughout my entire day. I am whatever it is. I am motivated, or more importantly, I am inspired. I am focused. I am in control, whatever it may be. I love to work with that. I also really stay close to my movement practice. I had a neighbor who is such a busy dad of two boys. And he says, anytime I feel tired and I want to take a nap, I get my heart rate up. He goes for a run. And my version of that is anytime that I start to feel down, unmotivated, overwhelmed, I check in with myself and I get back to that place of gratitude. Like you said earlier, it is no, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. And I just keep moving forward. Even if I'm not feeling great, I'm feeling a little off, a little ick, a little overwhelmed. I just say, you know what? This is temporary. It's okay. We can't have the good without the bad. And we don't appreciate the good without knowing the bad. And so I'm just gonna keep moving and trusting that this is temporary. I'm going to get through it and then I'm going to be back at it. And because it's when we stop and when we don't take any action that we really start to feel overwhelmed and like it's too much. And so for me, if I'm not motivated, the quickest way to get remotivated is to just keep going. Just keep going. Don't give up. You can stop, you can take a break, but please always come back to it, and come back to it from a foundation of self-love and self-worth. You are worth it. You are worth the effort to get back to a good place. You are worth, you deserve, you are worthy of feeling good. How are you going to get there? Do it. Take whatever steps you need. Connect. Call a loved one, right? Call someone who's in your corner. Go watch an inspiring 5-minute video on YouTube. Pick up a book, read an inspiring chapter from a book. My book, oh my gosh, shameless plug. I swear it was just on the floor, but I looked down and I was like, hey, a year of self-motivation for women. Yep. But it's the point of have some resources have some resources set aside that you can just call on. It's like your little tool belt. And when you're feeling a little down, just look at that tool belt and say, what do I need? Can I pull out my yoga, my breath work, my affirmation, call my mom? What can I do?
Yes, we need those tools. We absolutely do. And those are so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I feel like tools, what we're connected with, are so important, and having a lot of them too, because sometimes, they change, and sometimes what we're drawn to is going to evolve and shift. And so really, attuning to that which, our body, our soul, our spirit needs in that now moment is so important to help stay inspired, to help, re-emerge. Ashton, thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation immensely. You inspire me. I love you. And for anybody that is really looking, I know your website is ashtonaugust.com, and then people can find Yogi Approved at yogiapproved.com. Is there anywhere that you would recommend in particular for people to get started? Because I know Yogi Approved has so much content on there.
Yes, it does. And Emily, thank you so much again. I love you too. I had such a great talk today. I loved our conversation. So thank you for having me. And yes, for anyone who's interested in yoga, spirituality, wellness overall, yogiapproved.com has thousands of articles. They're all free and they're all just there to help and support and inspire. And then Yogi Approved Classes is our online yoga platform. I would love for you to try us. We offer a 2-week free trial. So you can see what we've got, and then you can help us start planting those trees, help us get to 300,000. And so you can find that at yaclasses.com. And then you can connect with me personally. I'm most active on Instagram, and my name is I am Ashton August.
Amazing. So much love and gratitude to you, Ashton, and to everyone listening. I'll see you next time.